Hello and welcome to the Secrets of the Fastest Growing, the podcast where we sit down with founders, entrepreneurs, and technology leaders and talk about how they've taken their companies and grown them at a rate that's greater than the market. I'm Jon Brinton, the Chief Revenue Officer at Crexendo. In each episode, we kind of explore the stories behind the companies powered by the NetSapiens platform and specifically talk to partners who we benchmarked at growing at double the rate of our industry. So excited to hear about their stories, the lessons they've learned along the way. I'm joined today by two awesome guests and two co-founders of Viirtue, a leading white label provider. I'll let them tell their story in a moment. But Rob Finch, president, one of the co-founders, and Dan Rosenrauch, the Viirtue CEO. So welcome, Dan and Rob. Great to have you both here today. Thanks for joining me.
Thanks, John. It's a pleasure to be on. I figured Joe Rogan would have us on first, but John Rogan, I like it better.
Okay. So bring the jokes. That's good. It'll make an interesting hour or so. So no, it's good to have you both here. And actually, just for those in our audience who might not know, let's maybe just take a minute and tell us a little bit about Viirtue, who you are, a little bit about the company. We'll get to the origin story later, but let's talk about Viirtue today. Dan, you want to take that one first?
Yeah, for sure. I can kind of just give our, how we got here and the mission that we're trying to solve. So Rob and I actually both founded our own VoIP companies back in the day. I mean, we were kind of almost competitors, but different regions. I was in the Northeast, New Jersey, New York, Pennsylvania, had a customer base, and Rob was down here in Tampa. And we both were just slinging VoIP back in the day. And we actually met searching for a platform. And we had considered a few different platforms, and we had landed on NetSapiens. And that's actually where Rob and I physically met, was with Anand and Chris and team out in La Jolla. We went out, they showed us the platform. It was back 2013, 2014. So they were a much smaller group than they were today, or than they are today. And basically everybody went to bed, and Rob and I think I was 25, 26 at the time, right, Rob? And, so we're like, we're not ready to go to bed. We're in La Jolla. What's going on? So Rob and I ended up going out, and we've been really kind of close since. And as history would have it, we ended up joining the two businesses together with the mission of building a wholesale solution that can really enable partners, as that's really where both of our roots were from. And by consolidating the two businesses together, we ended up building out our development team and building a platform that we call Vibe that gives our partners everything they need to go to business, lower barrier to entry. It does all their quoting, their billing, their tax automation, their compliance, their number porting, their order, you name it. We've tried to make those things branded and easier for our partners. But before that, I was at Nortel and Avaya, and it just kind of came up through the telecom roots. I know, John, you and I have shared that with your Mitel background and stuff. So that's me personally. But yeah, Rob.
No, Rob, there's always two sides to that story. So yeah, tell me your version of what Dan just said.
That's actually extremely accurate, actually. So we everybody else went to bed. Dan and I went out and tied one on, I would say, and not too many later, I would say, events, I would say, with Crexendo, formerly the Sapiens platform by itself, Anand kind of approached both of us and said, why don't you guys just merge together? You guys get along so well. You're feeding off of each other's vibes, and we just both looked at each other and said, "Wow, talked about this." So we eventually started discussing it, and in 2017, we pulled the trigger and we renamed our companies to Viirtue. And a lot of people ask us why we have two I's in our name, and the simple answer is we couldn't afford a domain name with one I, so we actually went with two I's.
I love that. So so we went straight to the origin story. So let's talk about that a little bit. So both of you kind of entrepreneurial journey, wanted to do your own thing, joined up together. What was that like early on when you got into partnership together? Because obviously I will say, from knowing you both, you balance each other out. But you are different personalities, things like that. How did that work in the early? We'll go back to what Viirtue is today, but early on, when it's really the Dan and Rob show, how did that work for you? How did you each get kind of in your own swim lane as you built the business?
Yeah, and I don't know, Rob, if you don't mind, I'll jump in there. But I would love to kind of hear your side of it too. Yeah, and I think, when Rob and I joined the two businesses, I think we were really naive to it all. Again, I was like, 25 at the time. I don't know if Rob had any experience doing that yet, integrating two businesses together. So we kind of just decided, hey, well, let's figure this thing out. And what ended up happening was, like, over that first year, we were able to really sit back and just kind of look through just our books and just all the things that were replicative there, and just figure out, hey, how are we more efficient with our resources? How are we more efficient with our time? How can we add more value together for our customers? And that was things like, hey, can we staff different hours, follow the sun, just like all the things that we were able to really take a benefit of when it comes to economies of scale, just kind of presented themselves. It's, I'm sure, John, like stuff, sometimes you have to have somebody with like, it's a really in-depth background on integrating businesses come in there, and even sometimes those don't succeed. But I think the thing that maybe you could even call getting lucky was that I think Rob and I didn't have any kind of rush to integrate the two businesses together, and we really just kind of sat back and almost let it do the work itself. Like, we just saw where stuff fell into place and just tried to make good, thoughtful decisions as we crossed each bridge. So that was kind of, I guess, my impression of the integration process of two businesses that were, not huge. I think we were each about 10 employees each, I want to say, at the time. But yeah, it was a fun process, and it just felt like the blocks really did fall into place. But Rob, what's your thoughts on that?
No, I totally agree with you. They always, employees say I'm always a man of a lot of words here, or lack of words, I should say. Dan's actually the talker, so he's usually the face of the company. So I really didn't want to be out in public, so this is very awkward for me. By the way, this is my first podcast, so thanks for the invite, John.
Yes, thanks for accepting.
So, as you mentioned before, we kind of even each other out. You could tell, you could kind of tell that Dan is more of the energetic person, the more marketing person. I'm more of the back end person, the kind of the sales. I like digging into sales and trying to dig into solving problems for customers. So I would say that's the biggest thing that we comprehend each other. So compensate each other.
Great. That's great. And you both independently made the decision that I want to build a UCaaS business and I want to build it on the NetSapiens platform at the time, right? Or were you still deciding that part of it?
Yeah, I think when we first, we met first, I should say, on a forum where we just back and forth like other technical people. But where we first met in person was when we were vetting NetSapiens. And just to be, candid, we were vetting two platforms, NetSapiens, and can I mention they're gone? They're long since gone, so I don't even think it's an option. But BroadSoft was the other that we had on our desk, and I actually had. And I've told this story before. We had the contract on my desk to sign with BroadSoft, and NetSapiens was kind of late to the party. And we went out. It was a small group. I think there were 8 people. You'd have to check with Anand how big scale was, but we really liked the vision, and we really loved the portal. We thought it was intuitive, and that's kind of where we decided. I know we kind of both together, as we became friends, we're both like, no, I do think this is the best option for us. Especially we wanted to wholesale down the road. We didn't really love BroadSoft's economics. It just didn't seem like it would be something that would scale well, especially at a wholesale type of proposition. So yeah, I would say it's almost like we kind of became friends over the decision to go with NetSapiens. Rob, does that sound about right?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
that's great. And so, and for people that might not know, Anand, that's been mentioned a couple times, is Anand Butch, our Chief Strategy Officer, but also one of the original founders of NetSapiens with David Wang, and the platform and the business is 22 years older or so today. So, exciting growth. I mean, you think about, I've been associated with the product now for about 4.5 years since the merger with Crexendo. But, going from basically startup to 20 years ago, now benchmarking with partners like Viirtue, growing at double the rate of the market, close to 7 million users globally on the platform. Pretty exciting. But, what I love is the origin story of what you guys have talked about of, you both had a purpose. You both were on a mission. Obviously, based on your background, you both balance each other out because, Dan is more the front of the stage guy and Rob is more the background guy. That's a great kind of marriage to put together as you, and just to make sure our audience understands. So Viirtue's primary go-to-market is you are a white label provider of services. So maybe just so we don't get too far away from that part of the bookend, Dan, kind of give us the what you do, who you enable today in your partner community, so we can understand kind of what the market you serve is.
Yeah, for sure. So where we saw that there was a gap where there just wasn't a lot of offerings on the marketplace for was that small to medium sized service provider, where what was out there at the time was more you had to bundle in a lot of different platforms, and you know the deal. It was something more complicated. That if hey, you're an MSP where voice isn't your primary focus, or you're a startup just getting into the space, it was just a lot to take on and a pretty costly endeavor. So our what we built was something that was lower barrier to entry that does everything in one pane of glass. It's completely turnkey, branded, and free. And we give that to our partners, and everything they sell through the platform, they can sell. You know, obviously everything NetSapiens Crexendo has to offer, from the users, the auto attendants, and sentiment analysis, and call recording. They can even bundle in other products that we have, like cyber offerings and stuff that they can turnkey enable and deploy right out of Vibe. But that was really the mission we were trying to solve in the market, that I think we serve the best, is again that small to medium sized service provider, and MSPs, that again voice, it's not their entire business. They don't have 100 employees that can manage the switch, manage all the billing and compliance and all the different platforms that you have to kind of link together to make it work. We were looking for the people that, yeah, they're an MSP, they have 5-10 employees, they're working out of ConnectWise today, and they wanted VoIP to be an easy addition to their portfolio. That was the market that I think we play best in.
Okay. And Rob, was white label kind of the this type of enabling MSPs? Was that the mission you had from the beginning? Did you guys come to that together, or how did that evolve in kind of the journey here?
I think it came just after we formed. I mean, actually, in the talks of just joining forces, we really want to, obviously we were more on the retail channel partner side, just like a lot of our white label partners are today. And we found that we were dealing with a lot of MSPs, a lot of channel partners that want to resell voice over IP. And one of the biggest problems, like Dan mentioned, is you're trying to get into this game. It's the taxation, the automation, the quoting, the billing. And once you get to a certain size, you as a single person or dual person in a company, that it takes so much time to run that side of the business that you have no more time to go out and sell and grow the business. So we said, hey, let's try to build a company in a box for other providers, MSPs, specifically. I was always, kind of raised my old man, and to keep your friends close, keep your enemies closer. So I always was in touch with a lot of my competitors in the area. And ironically, a few of them are one of our largest white label partners today. So they actually got out of, slinging PBXs on the walls, and they basically came to us because, we're very personable. I think we feel that, we hear that a lot compared to then people talking to some of our competitors that are in the same space, that they feel like we're not robots. And I think that really speaks for itself with specifically Dan and myself. So, yeah, I think the big thing is the tagline I always want to do is we built a company, a telecom company in a box, you want to say.
Right. And so one of the besides, and I love that story about you have two eyes in Viirtue because, you couldn't afford the domain name with one eye. So Viirtue, also one of the key things in your offering is the Vibe platform. So maybe Dan, tell us, so you've got NetSapiens is obviously your core UCaaS platforms, soft switch, everything. How did you embark on building something like Vibe? Because you've really developed that a lot over the years.
Yeah, so I mean, it's the iterative, as Wojtek will say, our CTO approach over some time. So we started building the platform out in 2018, and it really took us about, I don't know, Rob, what do you think, like 2 years, as far as putting together, a really solid prototype. I think our first 1.0 was mostly the tax automation, quoting, number porting tools, and a few other base features. And then really just the platform kind of, as like taking an iterative development approach, just really has evolved over the last 7 years. We've added all kinds of things. So full function billing, we've gotten really detailed and nuanced. I think that's, as with telecom, the really complicated thing about billing for a service like ours is it's a regulated service. Every partner wants to bill differently. Nobody wants to do things the same, whether you want to bill in arrears or bill in advance, or if you're a partner that focuses on multi-location customers and you need like a parent-child billing setup where you can show 20 different customer sites on one bill and what the usage and the billing is broken out per location. So again, as you can tell, there's really detailed, nuanced voice use cases. And what we've just done over time is try our best to listen to our partners. Our community has really grown over the years, and they put in feature requests, and we really try and look at all of the requests because there's hundreds. I'm sure there's hundreds of them. I think, and everybody has great ideas. But what we try and do is look at everybody's requests at a high level, and we try and prioritize what will be the most impactful and the most important, and which will satisfy the most amount of our partners, and just really kind of comb through that list. And that's what we've been doing for several years. We just launched in the last month. We've launched things that our partners have asked for, like we had Stripe integration, for example, for payments, but a lot of our partners wanted auth.net, so we just launched that integration. Some of our partners had asked for example, if somebody bounces a check or an ACH payment, they want to auto charge them back for that plus a penalty fee. We just launched that. Some folks wanted OneDrive integration so they could store important documents and do that at a Vibe, but still have that backed up to OneDrive so they can access it in both places. So again, just trying to listen to our partners and all these, things that can make their days easier, their lives easier as service providers. So just like Rob said, instead of focusing on those little things like making sure their invoices match in QuickBooks, they can be out there selling and growing their business and supporting their customers. And that's just kind of really where, kind of where we started, and over years of iteration where we've come.
So you developed the Vibe platform, important part of your offering. You built a team, and let's fast forward a few years. You guys also took some outside investment in the business. So when we talk, one of the focuses on this podcast is kind of that dimension of growth, right? What are the things people are doing to really accelerate their growth, to take their business to the next level? You guys, obviously extremely committed to that. So, tell our audience a little bit about that.
Yeah, for sure. So back in, I think it was March of 2023, we raised a round with a local, it was one of the biggest reasons we picked them. Rob and I've known them for some time. Ballast Point Ventures, they're local to us here in Tampa. They're like the SaaS investor in town. I think it's the biggest fund, period. So we had a really good relationship with them. They're deeply embedded in the software space. They have other investments in our space. So they bring that expertise with them. But yeah, we basically got to that point where we were just too much to do, not enough people to solve the problems. And we just knew we need more engineers, we need more developers, we need more customer service people, we need high level operations people to really take support to the next level as we grew. We got to that inflection point where Rob and I, and at the time we were still Charlene, who's been with us for years, was with the team, and Wojtek and Tim, our head of client success. And we kind of just took a real look at ourselves and said, just like, we don't have the team to support the growth that we're currently experiencing, and we need to make sure we can fix that problem. So I think to us, that was what made it clear, like, hey, now is the right time for us to, to take that next step in the business and bring in outside capital and an investor who, could supercharge the business, not just there, but in the future, again, if we needed, again, like another injection to do special things. So again, that was kind of where we decided, hey, let's do this. And I think we didn't run too quick of a process. It was really a blessing. We really knew the investors before we even decided it was time. So then when the time it came to actually raise capital, we already had a few of those relationships. We had run a brief process with a few of them, and we just felt that the local investor who I go meet him for coffee, right? It's 15 minutes from my house. That's not a typical CEO investor relationship, right? So it's definitely been a great experience, and just actually just looking at it almost like biasly and just on myself, it's been an incredible learning experience. I feel like by fire. So for all the reasons said, if I would say, like, anybody listening that's considering that, I wouldn't do it for no reason. Like the reason should be obvious. Either it's something that, hey, if I had more capital, I can grow into this and do this, or just I need more people, or I need to invest in something like that. There should be a clear reason. I wouldn't just do it to say, hey, I've raised. But again, I think we had a true reason, and we set off on that, and it's been a cool story ever since.
Yeah, and I think the perfect time to raise the capital to March of 23. We did that, and I think it was perfect time. And just a funny quick story about the firm that we went with was they were actually one of the first customers I ever turned over onto the NetSapiens platform, not knowing what they did. I didn't even know what a private equity company did. So we're talking very, very naive, lifestyle business person like myself back in the day. And moving forward, when Dan was kind of looking out for this, like, hey, let's see if we can raise some money. And then he said, yeah, we found this company here. And I was like, that sounds really familiar. It can't be the same company. And sure as be, it's them. So it was kind of like,
and they didn't hold. It must have been a good experience because they didn't hold it against you, right?
yeah. You know, and it's so even go past that is, you know, we start talking about who's in their portfolio, who they've already invested in, and two other companies that were on the NetSapiens platform via Viirtue were also part of that team. So it was just a really easy, natural fit. So
yeah, that's great. And Rob, you're the guy that kind of, you know, you got to, you know, obviously raising capital means also building out the resources and the team behind the scenes. Dan talked about this a little bit, but what did that enable you to do from an operational perspective and kind of helping to scale the business?
Well, I tell you this, it's a little nervous when you see your payroll go up pretty good.
Right.
Yeah, I'm not sure really to answer that question, John.
Okay. Well, you guys obviously added a lot of good talent, people that can help you scale.
Yeah,
right?
The talent we brought in is phenomenal. You know, we have from Wojtek, our CTO, he's amazing. We just added on Derek Aponovich, he's our COO. You know, he's very familiar with our PE firm as well. And there's many more I can talk about. But.
Yeah.
Right. That's great. And then, you know, just kind of, I mean, great success. I don't know if you want to share any partner metrics or, you know, growth or anything like that, but clearly from 2017 to today, you know, a scale of growth that's pretty, you know, outstanding in our industry. I don't know if you guys would fill in any blanks there or not, just as far as the scope of where Viirtue's gone.
Yeah, for sure. So no, yeah, we've grown significantly. So I think, you know, when Rob and I first partnered with the NetSapiens Crexendo team back in like 2013, 2014, we were both like 1.5 million ARR businesses. So typical, you know, lifestyle service provider business. But now, you know, we're 12 million ARR business today, and just been growing exponentially. Our focus has gone from, our both of our models are really like an agent channel partner model. Now white label is by far the biggest portion of our business. So it's very much a different business than it was when we started. But yeah, for our growth is, you know, absolutely just, we've seen a ton of it over the years for sure. And I think just, you know, through COVID, obviously being able to be in a good position there and being able to capture a lot of that, you know, market share during that time and setting up our partners for success there. And even today, as we're starting to see them, we're testing, you know, we've deployed system analysis with you guys, or we're testing two other AI voice agents that we're going to be introducing to our, you know, to our consumer base as soon as kind of get through like the testing and piloting period there, which is coming up pretty quickly. So we really do kind of see this next level of opportunity for our partners to kind of even continue to grow exponentially with more services that they can sell to their customers and increase their wallet share. So it's definitely an exciting time there as far as growth is concerned.
Yeah, that one thing that's really interesting, I'd like to get both of your take on this, but you're also, you know, you built a great community with your partners, but you're doing something that not a lot of people do. You're investing in them. We're doing the podcast this week. Next week, you're hosting your Viirtue Connect event in Nashville. So you actually, like, you're investing back in your partners having an event for them. How did you come to actually going to that extra effort of saying, hey, we're going to get our community together once a year, have an event, talk about what we're doing? It's a pretty big production, right, Dan?
No, and I'm, you know, you guys know as well as anybody. Yeah, this is our third Viirtue Connect, and we're super excited about it. But we love it. One of the things that here at Viirtue that we've always been really passionate about is being, getting in front of our partners, going out with them. Like, I'm sure you could pick them out of a hat. You know, I'm sure you could talk to a partner. They've probably been to a football or baseball game with Rob or I or Shar or something, and, you know, or done something fun, you know, outside of the office. And that's kind of, you know, what we've always tried to be about is humanizing who we are. We're not, you know, some big Fortune 100 company that you're just another logo to us. We've always really tried to champion the relationships, and I think having a big in-person event is a big part of that. And we've always thrown back like, hey, do we do like a lot of small regional stuff, or do we do just the one big event annually? Because it's a lot, as I'm sure you know, it's a lot of preparation. The marketing team, these last 6 weeks, all we do is focus on you know, all the nuances and details of the event and the content that we're putting on to make sure it's relevant and valuable for our partners. But it's always, so far we've done, like I said, 2. This is our 3rd one. Every event we've done, the partners that we've surveyed at the event it was like almost shocking. 100% said that if we did another event, they would definitely attend. They found value for it. So we're going to keep doing them as long as our sponsors, I should say, will support the event. But it's every single time, you go into it, I'm sure, you go into it a little nervous, but you always walk away just so happy that you got the chance to meet and talk to everybody, hear their feedback, the good stuff and the bad stuff, and just be able to take that feedback back with the team because everybody else hears it. So it really helps us gain alignment, I think, as an organization. And then every time we've left Viirtue Connect, I know just, not even speaking for the partners, I hope they learn stuff. I hope they win more business, and it shows in the numbers. They do sell more after Viirtue Connect. It's the numbers, I think last year was like 14% jump we saw after Viirtue Connect. But, they not only do they sell more, but again, it gives us alignment as a leadership team to be like, hey, this is the concerns that they brought us. This is now what we need to focus on. So it's really, again, an opportunity. I don't think a lot of customers get with their software vendor to be able to talk to them all in person and say, hey, I love this. You guys are doing a great job here. You're killing it here, but hey, you're really dropping the ball here. And this is why I think that, and this is how I think you guys can get better there. This is the place for that.
Right. That's great. And you're taking the show on the road this year, Rob. Who picked Nashville? Because you guys, your first couple were local. Now you guys are, hitting the road. How'd that happen?
Well, I love Nashville. So anybody's been to Nashville, but Nashville's really fun. So it was actually on one of my top lists. I kind of mentioned, there was like 4 or 5 of us in the marketing team was thrown around cities, and Nashville kept coming up. So I'm glad that we actually chose on Nashville. I think it's a great little city to hold some event like this, especially listen to live music. So.
Yeah. And one of the pieces also, we did a survey last year at Viirtue Connect, and I think one of the pieces of feedback we got that all of our events were local to our office here in Tampa, which we love, and I would do every event here if we could. But we did get some feedback for partners that were in like California, or we have a few in Hawaii, for example. It was tough to come all the way to Tampa, especially if it's not a big international airport. To Nashville, easy to get to, right smack in the middle of the country, big international airport. We felt that would be a good solve for that problem too. But Rob is definitely the Nashville god.
Yeah, you guys know we had our user group meeting there last year, and Nashville is great. We're going to be in Florida and South Florida in a month. And that, I agree with you. One of my big highlights of the year is our NetSapiens platform user group meeting, where we do get our partners and our sponsors together kind of in one place for 3.5 days. And the feedback that you get in that kind of environment's phenomenal for getting just understanding where your partners are at, having interaction with them one-on-one. And what I love is guys like you that there's partners in our community that are technically competitors, but I see you guys sharing best practices with each other and talking about how you've encountered problems and dealt with them. And, to me, that's one of the most rewarding part of my jobs. And I'm sure for you too, with Viirtue Connect, you're doing the same thing with your community. And it's a really rewarding thing to execute an event like that well. So congratulations on making that commitment.
Yeah, thank you so much. And likewise, good luck. I know ours are like 2 weeks apart this year, so good luck to you too, John. And, it's, as well as anybody else. It's a lot. We really hope they enjoy it because we really did put a ton of work and effort in the background. I got to shout like some of our team, Marcy and Gil and Melissa, and just so much effort goes into it, so much thought to each session. How making sure that the sessions all align with each other, and we're telling a good story throughout the show. It's just I really do hope the partners get their value out of it, and they appreciate all the attention to detail that we put in.
Yeah, it's a lot of work. So a lot of the good stuff now in every origin story. One question before we go to the next segment. Looking back, over the last decade or so, is there any specific big thing that you did that maybe you would do differently, or lessons of, hey, we tried this, it didn't work for us, or whatever, that you could share with our audience? We've heard all the positive. Is there anything that was like, yeah, I've been there, done that, never do it again type of thing you want to share?
Yeah, I don't know if Rob, you want to go first. I think for me, I don't know if I would have done anything differently, because even the mistakes, when you look back as a founder and as a business owner, and even as the private equities, I feel like now I'm a CEO, right? I'm an employee at the organization, and trying to look at it that way. All the mistakes are lessons learned, and it helps you get better. So you got to make those mistakes to know with the right choices in the future. But obviously there's decisions that you always wish that you could kind of have that opportunity to think through them again. But again, I don't think that there's anything specifically that I would have done better, because even the things that we did wrong, I think were lessons learned and made us much better for it in the future. And I would just say, like, my advice for anybody in a similar position is just trust your gut. When anytime I look back on when I think I waited too long to make a decision on something, I always, you had the gut instinct ahead of time, and you had that voice in your head telling you, hey, maybe do this first, or I don't know about that. And anytime I try and always do like a retrospective, and you always notice that, hey, if you just would have trusted your gut sooner, probably would have made the better decision. So that's always my advice there.
Rob, anything that comes to mind for you?
Oh, I'll just say this: any bad decision was definitely Dan's decision. So
always, yeah.
No,
as funny as it is, CEO, it's true.
Yeah, no. I would say very, very similar to Dan's answer is, when you're smaller, you're going to try to always hit that home run. And I wish sometimes we probably shot for the double instead of the home run, a little bit safer. But at the end of the day, it all worked out, and you just got to trust your gut. And if you're a small business owner like we are, you still got to do it day to day. Keep on your business. So.
Yeah, 100%. That is absolutely true. You got to keep yourself engaged and keep driving, which, is clear. And you have both done that in your success. So, changing gears a little bit, kind of like just on the industry in general, what are some of the trends that you're seeing in the UCaaS and telecommunications? And Dan, you mentioned, you threw out the two vowels, AI, that obviously, are the hot topics now. But what are some of the things that your partners are coming to you and they're seeing in the market, or that you guys are trying to get your heads around?
Yeah, for sure. So obviously, like, AI is kind of where our heads have been at, as well as everybody else. Just where's the right opportunity? How can we empower our partners with that opportunity? I think, I'm generally, Rob will tell you this, and I think anybody else that works with me, I'm generally the person that likes to be first to market with something, and get a product out as soon as humanly possible. But I think the one thing we made a quick observation, as soon as everything AI was rolling out, was just how quickly things were changing. And we literally watched businesses roll out an AI product only to get made obsolete a week later by something a ChatGPT update, if you will. So this was one that we did want to purposely kind of wait and see the different products that came out, and try and figure out what the best opportunity was for our partners, what would be the most obvious for their customers to sell. And I think most importantly with AI, and I think everybody loves it, but I think everybody understands it's very expensive, and what is the appetite for their customers to actually pay for a feature like this. I think we spent a lot of time doing research and talking to our customers and those types of things. And I think we're getting to the point where we really do understand now the problem that we're trying to solve, and how we're going to solve that problem. So again, more to come there. We have launched sentiment analysis with you guys as like a beta, with a good amount of our partner base. I think we launched that about a month and a half ago, so that we've seen some, definitely well receptive to that as like the first taste of AI within our platform. But obviously, thinking about that very deeply, and working on some cool stuff in the background that we're just testing. And I think, we've always tried to do as a platform, just like you, I think to a similar degree, is have multiple options for our customers, and not try and say, hey, jam this solution down your throat, and say, hey, there's, just like we did, call recording, we have call cabinet integration, contact center, we have the Crexendo, we also have Zima. So again, just to that same kind of degree, we wanted to be able to find a few solutions that solved different problems, so our partners could just champion those, sell the crap out of them, try and make them as turnkey as possible for them. So that's kind of where, as far as like the AI front, without divulging too much before we launch anything, that's where we've been set up there. And where we really think this is like an extra amazing opportunity for service providers is on the compliance piece. And like one of the things that I'm going into my presentation at Viirtue Connect is that like compliance kind of, in the how almost ridiculous telecom is regulated, almost kind of builds a moat around these service providers. So there's an obvious integration with AI and voice. There's going to be an obvious intersection of those two markets. And the fact that our service providers, as well as yours, are so well set up to understand how to deal with that, understand how to deal with the FCC, it's going to be their advantage, and why they're going to be able to deliver this functionality versus, just Joe Schmo off the street, or a non-expert, if you will. So that's really where we kind of see, like, I don't know if you've seen, John, like there's already, the FCC's already ruled on, for example, like outbound AI agents. it's similar to 10DLC. You can't use them unless your customer is pre-opted in. So so as all this stuff continues to roll out, and the SEC, of course, digs their tail in, or digs their heels in on certain whatever their stance is on certain different problems. That's where our partners, again, just being able to be ahead of the curve there. I think they're really set up for success for this next evolution of telephony, if you will.
Great. Good. Rob, anything to add on that one?
No, he said it all.
That's a perfect picture of the partnership, right? No, I think it's great. I think we all have to look in our business at you have the customer facing and customer enabling type of AI applications and new innovations, which it's amazing. I almost think it's a bit of a renaissance for voice, so to speak. You said, Dan, the providers that are in our community, they understand that voice conversation, which is one of the greatest, I think, values in applying AI than against that. It's almost a renaissance for voice. And then there's also kind of the back office business optimization applications of AI, which are, the ways that we choose to use it in our organization to make our employees more efficient and everything. And I think it's exciting. I think, we've got to look at where does it really authentically work well for customers, so that we're not subjecting them to another version of an auto attendant tree or something that never gets them to the right answer. So I know what we've got. And you mentioned a little bit, we have some things at our event coming up. I'm excited to see what you guys are rolling out at Viirtue Connect. And, I think you summed it up a little bit. It's about building that ecosystem for your partners, so they have the choice of some different applications that they can use or deploy for their customers. That's been a big focus for us, and having partners that are not our licensees, but that surround sound of different applications that can be applied against the platform to help people kind of fill specific vertical needs. And you mentioned some of the ones that you guys are leveraging. So, as we talked about a little bit, we kind of already covered kind of switching gears a little bit, the choice of how you guys became NetSapiens platform partners originally. But let's maybe take a minute, if you don't mind, and just talk about how the NetSapiens platform has helped you really scale your business and differentiate within your business, what it's done for Viirtue as you've kind of built that foundation.
Yeah, sure. So since we built our platform, it's really enabled us. Like, we needed that back-end control as essentially a software company that was building, say call usage rating, and we built all that stuff. Like, we don't even, for one example, is we don't use the NetSapiens built-in CDRs. We pull that right from the database. So we just kind of needed to be able to have that control of the platform in order to do the things that we wanted to do on the back end and develop cool tools. And then also just to kind of give you background, I came from a network engineering background. I was an engineer in Nortel, I was an engineer in Avaya. And this was just kind of our background, and we really did want to build. And again, this was like 2013, 2014. There just wasn't a lot of these at the time. We wanted to build an active geo-redundant, high availability network. And back when we looked, there was really only two platforms that did that. It was you guys, and again, a now kind of gone away platform called BroadSoft. So those are really like the big check the boxes, I think, for me as a decision maker of why we chose NetSapiens, and what we were able to take advantage of going in, because we know, like, there's some of our competitors at the time were using like Asterisk, for example. And that's the problem with Asterisk. You have an issue with that data center, everything goes down because you don't have calls processing and all. But the way that we've had, or you might have, if you have a data center go down, you might have some weird symptoms and stuff like that, but the calls all fail over really easy, especially with we use, I think, a dozen different manufacturer devices that we support that completely automated. Your customer generally doesn't even know if there's a problem happening. So those are the things that we know issues happen. They happen across the board, but it's just how resilient can the platform be, and then how much control did we have to maybe add even more resiliency past that. So those have all been big factors, and I think big reasons for our growth as well.
Yeah, I don't think we could have even built Vibe software if we had went with a different platform. So the NetSapiens platform was really built for us.
That's awesome. Yeah, and I think part of what you're talking about, both of you, is API capabilities that we have. So, you've invested and built a team that has taken and really put your partner interface, your customer interface layer on top of the platform. But part of how we enable that is giving you the APIs to work with, in the first place to be able to do that. So has that been helpful for you?
Definitely. Yeah, of course. And like, I think a good example, something that we built, like our number self-service. So we give our providers the ability to port numbers, order numbers. They can do it in seconds. It auto provisions. We use the API to provision the numbers directly to the customer account, just to make life really simple there. Even like some components of usage rating and tooling there. So yeah, the API availability to us was huge. The direct, owning the database and having direct access to that was huge. Yeah, it's all, as Rob said, fundamental to what we needed in order to build this, operating solution essentially for our partners.
That's great. Yeah, and we love that you've continued to expand and grow with us and see that the great success that you guys have. So appreciate you kind of building your business around us. Now that the core technology platform's one component, it's one piece of the puzzle. Are there any other, as partners, somebody who might be considering this is looking at this type of journey? Are there other core software tools or things that you guys leveraged or use within your business? Everything from CRM or whatever that you want to talk about that you think's really been a great tool for you and enable part of your success?
Yeah, for sure. Like, I don't know. I think for marketing, as Rob will tell you, I always geek out with HubSpot. Like, HubSpot's definitely one of the the platforms that we built I'm sure you guys use too, our marketing and sales teams around, and has really been, if you get creative with it, with your different marketing campaigns and things like that, has been a difference maker for us. But no, anytime people ask, like, hey, what's the best thing you're doing? There's always like the tool of the day, right?
Sure.
Like right now, I think Clay is the buzz in marketing land. I don't know if you guys are experimenting with that right now. But yeah, no, I always tell folks, like, no silver bullets. It's just, building process, just figuring out, figure out your customer, figure out the need first that you're solving. I noticed that I just had this conversation with somebody about getting an accounting firm essentially started up before they even start the business. And I think the best advice somebody gave me was figure that out later. Go and sell something and make sure you can actually generate money, and then you can figure out how to count the money after. So that's what again, the advice has always been, like, find a problem that you have with your customer base or the people that you know how to network with, how to be where they are, and solve that problem and see what you can charge for it, and kind of let the rest be history. But that's always kind of what's worked for us, is just, hey, what do you need? As far as talking to our customers, when we were working more with direct customers back in the day, hey, how can we make your business more efficient? What makes this valuable for you? To today, our partners, like, well, how do we make your day better? How do we make you able to close business faster? How do we make you able to, inform your customers on new features and stuff? Just again, just asking questions and letting them tell us what to do.
Cool. Rob, any other tools or things that you've done outside of the core operating system that really seem meaningful or have been helpful to you?
No, not really. Okay. Like I said, Dan is the speaker of the company, and he basically speaks for me. Like, everything he's going to say, he's already said it. So I hate to duplicate it, but
well, you guys are great. You're great marketers. So, and I will agree with you on the value of HubSpot in the business. So, and then all of that ecosystem that you can pull around it. So, yeah, I didn't know if you had any more throw in on that one, but that's that's helpful overall. Any impactful operational strategies, like things that have really, strategically you guys made we come to a fork in a road and you take it, right, as the saying goes. So anything that you guys really decided to do that was just an impactful operational strategy that you want to share with the audience?
Yeah, I think, one of the good things that I think we've done as a leadership group over time is, like, focus on the theme. One of the things that, like a year or two ago, as we really started to grow, we just outgrew our support. We started as a small service provider with 2 or 3 people in support. And now I don't know the exact count, or maybe Rob can tell us, but I think we have like 25 people, 30 people in that role. So it's, one of the things we quickly realized is like, you can't just keep hiring a bunch of people. You need to implement really robust process and really teach them how to deliver great customer service, teach them to be experts, figure out, hey, if they're not solving the problem, how do we get this up the ladder quickly so our partners don't get upset that stuff is taking so long? And that was where we really, made that commitment. I think at last Virtue Connected, hey, we're going to really focus over the next year on this part of the business, specifically on support. And, we've done that. We brought on some really great people. Renee, specifically, somebody else shout out, our support manager, who comes with a really deep technical background on the telecom side, and has been able to, really transform that support team with process and with focus and inputs from, for the rest of the leadership team on just kind of how we can get better, making it more cross-functional. So now, that was our theme last year. Now we're shifting. Our theme is now really coming back to the VoIP platform. Like, we've done a lot of things since we started with you guys. We want to get back to our roots. How can we add, again, more resiliency to the platform, more functionality, more features? So that's kind of, I would say, like the best quality about this team is, our executive team. There's only like 6 of us, but we meet constantly, and we're really always trying to drown. There's a lot of things we can do. I think everybody understands that there's hundreds of different ways and directions you can take a business, and trying to be able to drown out the noise and just figure out what's the most important goals for the business, and almost be like short-sighted of like, what can we accomplish this next year? You always have your long-term goals, but like, hey, you're never going to get all the way here if you don't focus on what's right in front of you. And again, that's I think one of the the strengths of our team that we've been able to capitalize on over the years.
Now, the next question you both have to answer, Rob. So I'm gonna give you a setup on this one. You can think about it. I'll go to Dan first, and we know how he's good at like 90-second to 2-minute answers. So you got some time about it. Just teasing you. But I think it's important because, you got people been on a journey trying to grow a business like this, maybe struggled a little bit. You guys clearly have had a sense of purpose. You talked about having long-term goals but then really driving down with the team. But for both of you, I think it's important is that, just to think about, and specifically, what advice would you give personally to another founder in this space? So what advice would you give to somebody who's either considering, starting it and it doesn't have to be UCAS, starting on an entrepreneurial journey and growing their business, or that's maybe struggling or not achieving the goals that they're trying to get to. So Dan, I'm going to go to you first for the advice question.
Yeah, I would say that, I sit on a few advisory boards with startups that are kind of going through these like fundamental decision-making pieces right now, and give them the same advice generally is always just trying to figure out like, what do you want out of this business? Because sometimes like a lifestyle business with 2 or 3 employees, it's pretty awesome. Like I think of when I think anybody thinks of like a lifestyle, like think of something like the trades, like a small plumbing, like to me, that's like something great. You're going to make a bunch of money. You're not going to change the world or anything like that to your kids, and you just make a really good, that's why they call it a lifestyle business, and really great living out of it. So if that's kind of your goal, like it's not a bad thing to say, yeah, I just want to make a bunch of money and I don't want a bunch of problems to deal with, and I just want to serve, a subset of customers, and that's it. But I think some people always have that desire to do a little bit more, to kind of reach for the stars, or maybe they've done something like a lifestyle business before and they say, hey, I want to take a crack at it, like almost as Rob put it, a hit and a home run once, and maybe I'll fail, maybe I won't. And I would say to those folks, do it, but just make sure that you have a really detailed plan, that you really understand the market that you're trying to hit, to go after, the problems that you're trying to solve. But that's always my day one advice. If you're starting a business and maybe you've already found the problem you wish to solve, but you're just trying to figure out, hey, more service provider business, or do I want to be a software company and raise money and go kind of again down that venture? It's just, I would ask yourself and just give yourself a really honest answer of, what do you personally want out of this business? So hopefully, Rob, that gave you some time to think through your side.
I think I'll just keep mine pretty short, but starting the business, like I said, I always go back to my family. Always take pride in what you're trying to do, right? So if you decide to go open up a business, do it the best you can, take pride in it, and then you should be pretty successful. As long as you take pride, learn the product. If you know the product, you can definitely sell it. It's funny because we always have some employees that we deal with, and they always I always say, you should be really like a salesperson. No, I can't talk in front of people, kind of like that can't. So I really can't talk in front of people. I get really nervous. I'm like, you talk to them every day. You're basically selling the product to the customer through support. So why don't you just get in sales? So it's very similar to that. If you take pride in it and you know the product, I think success is on the horizon.
That's great. No, that's good advice. And I think that's good. It's good context too, is that not everybody, you guys are clearly been driven, grown a business and have, bigger goals, but it's okay to have the goal of, make a great living for your family, put your kids through school and just build a great, we call it a lifestyle business, but it's a lifestyle, right? And that's what somebody's goals are, to achieve them. And like you said, Rob, get the, hone the skill, right? Learn the craft of what you're doing and take pride in your work and the ownership of what you do. So anyway, so thank you both for joining me today. Appreciate it. We're been talking to Dan Rosenrauch and Rob Finch from Viirtue, and talking about their partnership with Crexendo with the NetSapiens platform and how they've successfully grown their business at a rate that exceeds the market. We know what's next for them because next week is their Viirtue Connect event. So I'll wish you both a great event next week in Nashville. Looking forward to actually being there with you. So looking forward to that event. And again, appreciate the partnership and you guys sharing your story today. So this has been the Secrets of the Fastest Growing podcast, and appreciate our guests and our audience for joining us today, and look forward to talking to other entrepreneurs like Rob and Dan in our future episodes. So thanks, gentlemen. Thank you both.
Thank you, John.
Thanks, John.
Pleasure.